Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for December 20th to December 26th of 2015. And on December 20th, we have the sun. You can see it denoted here by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Sagittarius. It's also in the 11th hexagram, and on the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 11, numbered from bottom to top. The 11 goes yang, yang, yang. Yin, yin, yin. And then the 11th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here, this is the 11th gate of ideas, peace, a harmonic condition in the individual or society that permits assessment before renewed action. Located in the Ajna Center, in an abstract collective energy path in the sensing circuit called the Channel of Curiosity, a design of a seeker that connects to the 56th gate of stimulation, the wanderer, stability through movement, the perpetuation of continuity through the linking of short-term activity. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on December 20th. The sun is in the 11, the earth is in the 12. We have the north node in the 6th gate with the south node in the 36th gate. Mercury is in the 54th gate with Venus in the 1st gate. Mars is in the 32nd gate. Jupiter is in the 6th gate along with the north node. Saturn is in the 9th gate. Uranus is at a standstill or stationed, is the astrology term, as it turns direct on the 25th, and it's in the 51st gate. Neptune is in the 37th gate, and Pluto is in the 38th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. The neutrino forecast is really just a weather report. No matter what the weather, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Uru said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we've got one channel definition due to the transit field with Mars in the 32nd gate and Mercury in the 54th gate. We have the channel of transformation, the design of being driven until the 23rd, which brings tribal energy to support our drive to obtain a distant goal. This channel definition is a projected channel that must wait for correct allies. This will influence us to transform raw energy into something that endures, to turn hard work into success. The themes of this definition are time, money, values, business, and bargaining. As a conditioning force, I'd expect to see people wanting to be recognized for their hard work through material success. For those who don't value themselves or their place in the community, they may become workaholics under this influence. For those without a defined root center, this transit definition can bring a pressure which may have folks hurrying to get things done to release their stress. The defined splenic center, it brings intuition and well-being, but Ra warned that those without a defined splenic center may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. We're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ra said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. December 20th begins with the sun in the 6th line of the 11th hexagram. The sun in the 11-6 is adaptability, the inner balance to accept transition, exalted, the innate awareness that all forms are transitory, the realization that ideas lead to change and are changeable, detriment and adaptability in its most negative manifestation, the speculator who profits at the expense of others in times of peace or war, the realization of what idea is of value in any situation. 6 line days again, are looking beyond, looking at what's coming next, what's down the road, what's on the horizon. So there's a lack of focus in the immediate moment. But then later on the 20th, the sun then moves out of the 11 and it moves into the 10. And the earth moves out of the 12 and it moves into the 15. And of course, we still have Venus in the 1. So we'll move forward here. So we've got the Earth is in the 15th hexagram, and this is the gate of extremes, modesty, the quality of behavior, which expresses the proper balance between extremes. This shift is happens at 6:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Sun in the 10th gate of the behavior of the self, treading the underlying code of behavior which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. The Sun's exalted in the first line of the 10th hexagram as modesty, the innate sense to know and accept one's place. Exalted, a valued sense of purpose no matter what the position. The ability to know one's place and how to act despite circumstances. And when we've got the Sun in the first, second, third lines, that's the lower trigram. Those are days when people are looking more inward, more absorbed in their own process. The theme of the first line day, the investigator line, is a day of fear or anxiety, where we have a fear or an anxiety. Something comes up that needs to be investigated, needs to be researched, so that the anxiety stimulates the need to know information, and then subsides by going out and finding out that information. And then also on the 20th, Venus moves from the first gate to the 43rd. And in human design, Venus is very powerful and deeply misunderstood, according to Ra. It brings morality or values, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us and what disturbs you at a moral level. Your design and personality Venuses tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. Venus in the 43rd gate of insight, breakthrough. In order for achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. Venus is detrimented in the first line of the 43, patience, detrimented and impatience to enjoy the sweets of accomplishment that leaves a sour taste in the mouth, a delight in insight, but the lack of depth to establish it. On the 21st, the Sun then moves into the second line of the 10th hexagram, and that shift is at 4:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun in the 10-2 is described as the hermit, the successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation, exalted where mental functions enrich aloneness, independent behavior through isolation, detrimented the angry exile, isolation to preserve independent behavior in the face of conditioning. And second line days, people are waiting for things. They're waiting to be called, waiting to be called for their natural talents. It's a day when folks are stuck in their own trip, and so it's not a great day to have a party or some big social event, because folks really won't want to come under the influence of the hermit. On the 22nd, the Sun then moves into the third line of the 10th hexagram at 2:44 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun in the 10-3 is the martyr, the futile rejection of standards based on a just awareness. Exalted, the martyr as an enduring example whose behavior is ultimately enshrined, behavior that's ultimately challenged by others. Detrimented, the martyr complex, the pursuit of martyrdom for personal aggrandizement, behavior as a way to attract attention. And third line days, We're talking about a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. Third line days, things bump into us, so we want to be careful on the road, be careful of swinging doors, swinging elbows. It's a day when we might have bonds made and broken. It's a day where we might feel like things are on trial. It's a good material day and a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you got to be careful because things can go wrong under that third line energy. But there is the potential that those things may lead to discovery. On the 23rd, the sun then moves into the fourth line of the 10th hexagram at 12:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is just 50 minutes after midnight on the 23rd. And this is described as the opportunist, the acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be engendered. Exalted transformation, that is transcendence to the higher code, a maintaining of behavioral patterns until the right moment and opportunity for transformation. Detrimented opportunism as a game or mental exercise. Altering one's behavioral patterns in order to take advantage of opportunities. And then fourth line days, the opportunists, this is where we shift from the lower trigram, first, second, third lines, to the upper trigram, fourth, fifth, sixth lines. So the shift of moving from an internal perspective to now looking more outward, from personal to transpersonal, with the themes that we see with the fourth line day being friendship, companionship, networking, and that fourth line energy being great for social interaction. Later on the 23rd, the sun then moves into the fifth line of the 10th hexagram. This shift happening at 10:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so an hour and 4 minutes before midnight Eastern Standard Time on the 23rd. The sun in the 10:5 is described as the heretic, direct and overt challenge to norms, exalted the ability to succeed through understanding and expression of higher principles. Principled behavior which directly challenges tradition, detrimented the burning at the stake, behavior which directly challenges behavior and is eventually punished. The fifth line day, as I've said before, the thing I think is really key to understanding about the fifth line is it's about projection, and the projection goes positive then negative, positive. They could do it. They're the perfect person for it. Things like that. That if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, doesn't want to do it, for whatever reason, they are not meeting that expectation. That's when the projection changes to negative. That's when the person is punished. That's when the heretic is tied to the stake and set on fire. So, as I've said before, the fifth line is heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but also universalization, where something can leak out and spread like a virus, whether it's a YouTube post or Facebook post that goes viral. It can be a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on the fifth line day, which impacts the nature of relationships. As I've said before, when we're looking at paranoia, to me, if they're projecting on you and you're not meeting their expectation and they're out to get you, then that truly is not paranoia. Seduction is also a theme of the fifth line day. Also on the 23rd, Mercury moves out of the 54th hexagram and gate, and it moves up into the 61. Which means that this channel definition is no longer there. So in mythology, Mercury was the messenger of the gods. So this is about communication or expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music, according to Ra. What do you need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 61? Well, the pressure to solve an individual mystery. This is the gate of mystery, inner truth, the awareness of universal underlying principles. And in the first line of the 61, Mercury is in the line of occult knowledge, exalted to know the mysteries through esoterics, detrimented where a reliance on secret knowledge increasingly demands ascetic withdrawal and leads eventually to obscurity, where the pressure to know the mysteries can be so strong that one can be eventually incapable of handling exoteric realities. And then on the 24th, the sun then moves up into the 6th line, so onto the roof of the 10th hexagram at 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 10-6 is the role model, the perfect expression of norms through action rather than words, exalted, the constant example that reinforces the complacent on the basic integrity of set behavior, the enduring value of the expression of the self through actions rather than words. Detrimented, the hypocrite, do as I say, not as I do. Behavior restricted to words rather than actions. And 6 line days, as we were talking about earlier, this is on the roof of the hexagram. I like to think about being on the roof of a building, that we don't tend to look at the building so much as what's happening around the building, what's happening in the neighborhood, what's happening down the road, what's on the horizon, and so this is a day not to get stuck with your head in the clouds, because you'll end up with something running into your shins or kneecaps. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you, because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like third line days, there could be certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. And then on the 25th, the sun leaves the 10th hexagram, and it moves into the 58. And with that, we have the Earth leaving the 15, and it moves into the 52nd. Which then brings us another channel definition. So first of all, we've got the Earth is in the 52nd gate of inaction, keeping still, mountain, temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. And this shift happens at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the sun in the 58th gate of aliveness. The joyous stimulation is the key to joy. The sun in the first line of the 58 is the love of life, exalted. The very stimulation of the world is the basis of an ascetic appreciation of its beauty and wonder. Aloneness, alone or shared with others, this profound inner realization is the key for joyous harmony with the process of being, the energy which fuels the love of life. Detrimented, a cyclical energy which intermittently fuels the love of life. And so now we're in a new hexagram, lower trigram again. So first, second, third lines, again, inward perspective, people absorbed in their own process with the theme of a fear or anxiety that needs to be investigated, studied, researched, things of that nature. Also on the 25th, Venus moves out of the 43 and it moves into the 14. We already talked about Venus being about values, morality, things of that nature. And so we have Venus now in the 14th hexagram, and this is in the gate of power skills, possession in great measure, the accumulation or retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. And in the first line of the 14, This is the line of money isn't everything. The recognition that wealth has its own problems exalted the lust for liquor, tempered by higher principles. The key to manifesting power is higher principles. Detriment and the delusion that you can throw money at problems. Energy alone can be the key. And with the Earth in the 52nd gate, and we've got Saturn in the 9th gate, we have the channel of concentration, the sign of determination, until the 31st of December, which brings energy to be of service by improving something that will make a difference in the world. Folks with this channel bring focus and determination to anything they do individually or in a group through concentrating their being on their process. This may be a time when folks have less tolerance for multitasking, preferring to focus on one activity at a time as a response to pressure, wanting to find quiet and still space where they can concentrate their energy on the details of their process. For those without the defined root, as we had mentioned earlier, this transit definition can bring pressure, which may have them hurrying to get things done in order to release the stress. And the sacral definition also can affect non-generator types in feeling busy and having the endurance to work. Obviously, not to get used to it, because that is a short-term transit definition. And even in a long-term one, you wouldn't want to get used to it. It's a conditioning force. And the way this force conditions folks without a defined sacral is to think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to a premature or abrupt end to something that really needs more time. And then on the 26th, the sun then moves into the second line of the 58th hexagram at 5:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 58-2 is described as perversion, exalted, no polarity, no exaltation, detriment, a genius for perverse stimulation, which afflicts oneself and others by promoting degeneracy and reducing joy to indulgence and decadence. The energy which fuels the drive for perverse stimulation. Second line days, everybody's waiting to be called for their natural talents. So again, it's not a great day to have a big social event because folks really would prefer to stay home under the influence of that second line. No matter what the energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is an experience about being a passenger riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. And so enjoy the scenery, let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that reckon to distract us. I believe we're all here giving the performance of a lifetime on this world stage. You just need to take a little time to observe your play, watch your movie, as well as act your part by remembering that you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on December 27th, 2015. It should be available on the 26th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, as there's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And I am providing readings and want to make this service available to the greatest amount of folks. So I've created 3 different options. If you are interested in getting a reading, again, contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. And as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best to you and look forward to connecting with you in the future.